That's a really good question. Yeah, and exactly, we do both of those. My thumb really started to hurt. I went to the hospital and he said, "Oh, you've got de Quervain's disease. When can you come in for an operation?"
The Roskell Academy, what is it? Why is it insanely incredible? What sort of things do you offer? Next character?
Yeah.
Upper primary school age, ADHD dialed to 11. They find it very difficult to regulate and sit still. How would you sort that one out? Penelope Roskell, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming in today. Can you give us a brief introduction of yourself and some of the roles, the various roles that you do and some of the various roles that you have done, because you've done quite a lot, haven't you?
Okay, yeah. Well, I started off very much as a performing pianist. I travelled a lot, did a lot of concerts. And then I've always been a teacher at a music college, so I for the last 25 years I've been teaching at Trinity. What used to be Trinity College of Music is now Trinity Lab and Conservatoire, which is in London. I'm also an injury specialist, so I sort of work with a lot of pianists who've become injured from things that are related to their piano playing. So I help out with the British Association for Performing Arts Medicine, where we do a clinic for pianists who need help. So I've been involved with that for a long time. And more recently, I've written these books. The Complete Pianist is a huge book. It's really sort of like an encyclopedia of piano playing. But I hope it's not too difficult to get into. I think people find it very readable, and there's lots of videos and musical examples and things.
And that's all on your Roskell Academy, is that right? So is that what that's sort of based upon?
Well, no, that book was published by Peter's Edition. So yes, The Complete Pianist came out in 2020, just as COVID hit. And actually a lot of pianists found it a really nice thing to do while they were stuck at home. It could improve their piano playing. But then after that, the publisher, Peter's Edition again, asked me if I would produce some books using the same principles and explaining all the things, but how we can adapt that for use of beginners and intermediates, pianists. So that was what the Essential Piano Technique books were. There were 5 of them that take you from absolutely the first lesson through to about mid-intermediate playing.
About grade 4, grade 5, that sort of era.
Yeah.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
And this publishing deal with Faber Music, how did that sort of come about?
Okay, so it was originally Peter's Edition, but actually Peter's Edition have now been taken over by Faber Music. Okay. So they're still published officially under the name of Peter's Edition. And that's great because Peter's Edition is one of the oldest publishers in existence. They've been in existence for more than 200 years.
Wow.
But Faber Music is very active in the piano education field. You know, lots and lots of books, method books, repertoire books, and so on, are published by Faber. So it's a good match. Yeah, it works well.
The Roskell Academy, what is it? Why is it insanely incredible? What sort of things do you offer on there that is different?
This is a more recent thing we've developed. I wanted teachers. I'm the chair of the European Piano Teachers Association in the UK. So, and in EPTA, we're very concerned to really educate teachers and to make sure that teachers are really supported, feel confident in their work. And so I've been very committed to teachers all along. And the Roskell Academy is devoted to teachers and pianists of all levels, actually. So we welcome teachers and adult amateurs of all levels, and also the students as well. There's a student membership. It's called family membership. And the idea is to really give teachers support. So we give guided courses. We have a wonderful 3-day teacher training event, which takes place in May, and people can either come to London or they can join it online. We offer certifications for teachers who really want to improve their teaching, and we give them guided courses towards that. We've got lots of resources, so we give lots of regular webinars and so on, and those are then recorded.
Oh, so it's like an entire community.
So it's like a community.
Yeah, okay. So it's less of a teacher-student relationship. It's more like a whole community of everyone interacting together. It's a whole community.
So, for instance, if you put a question on the teacher's chat or the pianist chat, there will be somebody there who'll come up with a really good answer for you. So it's the more experienced people, pianists and teachers, are supporting those who are maybe just starting up. Yeah. So it's a real community.
Sort of like a whole piano teaching sort of forum or Discord channel, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So it's for people who maybe, aren't wanting to go for a full university or music college experience, but they just want to be part of a community. They want to learn. They want to get more confidence. So that's what we're there for.
What is EPTA UK?
Right. So EPTA UK was set up by a lady called Carola Grindia, and it's it's a community of of piano teachers within the UK, but actually there are branches in many countries of the world. So we have a sort of umbrella organisation which is called EPTA Europe. And I'm going to be president of that from August onwards.
Congratulations, that's incredible.
And so what I'm really trying to do is to build up the reputation of EPTA Europe, and to bring stronger collaboration between the countries and so on, and more resources and valuable help for all the teachers. And the exciting thing is that EPTA UK is hosting the international conference here in the UK in 2027. So that will bring in teachers from many countries throughout the world to the UK to this conference, which is going to be great.
Wildly off topic, what music are you listening to at the moment? Who's on your Spotify playlist? Who do you just click on when you're
right.
chill out?
I'm not a member of Spotify.
Or YouTube Music, or like CD or vinyl. I've still got a vinyl player in my house.
Oh, well, it can be a wide range of things. It might be somebody will suddenly say, hey, listen to this great jazz player. Or it might be, I'm just sort of getting to know a new piano piece, and I might think, oh, I know that person plays it really well. I really want to hear that. So sometimes I'm just hearing great pianists. I love listening to opera. I like going to opera. I'd rather see an opera rather than listen to it. But actually, as a member of Trinity, we've always had access to a library, which is called the Naxos Music Library, and this has an amazing collection of every one of the old vinyl records, and all the great performers playing it. So you put on a piece and you'll get a fantastic range of performances. And I tend to still go for that. I'm old-fashioned in that. As I said, never joined Spotify. And I much prefer that to going on YouTube, because on YouTube you get a terrific range of quality. You get some of the really great performances, and then some that people are just getting there.
And that's what your whole course is for, to help those people out.
Exactly. So I like to listen to a wide range of music.
You mentioned a little bit down your lecture earlier. You've helped pianists recover from injuries and got them playing again. How does something like that start? How did you get into that? How did you find out all about this? And
it started when I was in about third year at music college, and I was practicing Liszt's Second Piano Concerto, which has lots of octaves. And I wasn't getting good advice from my teachers, so I was just practicing for hours a day, really pounding away, playing really loudly. And my thumb really started to hurt, and it just didn't get better, it got worse. And I went to the doctor, I went to the hospital, and he said, oh, you've got de Quervain's disease, when can you come in for an operation? And this was a terrible shock to me. And I decided then and there that I wasn't going to have an operation, and I was going to do everything I could to find out how to solve it for myself, which is what I did. And it took me quite some time, working at it. And then I just sort of found that other people would come to me and say, I see you've helped yourself recover. Can you help me with this? And with all my students, I was trying to make sure that they didn't get those problems. So all the time I was questioning everything in my teaching, in my own playing. And so now I've been working in this field for 40 years. So there isn't much that I haven't seen, and I work in this clinic, so we're seeing people who've got really severe problems. And that's in a way why I wrote the books that I did.
Mm-hmm.
Firstly, for the Complete Pianist is for quite advanced pianists, and I wanted to show them, if you've got a problem, here's a possible solution for it. So the subtitle of the book is From Healthy Technique to Natural Artistry. So showing how if we use the body in the right way at the instrument, we've got a good relationship with our instrument, then we'll feel at ease with the instrument, we'll feel free, we'll feel much more at ease with the music, so we'll play much more expressively as well. But then I was realizing that so many of these problems that so many pianists face actually all stem from when we first started learning. So what I wanted to do with the beginners books was to show musicians that we can learn really, really good technique from the beginning. And why not? It's easier to learn good technique than to learn bad technique. And then we progress much more quickly because we're not learning bad habits that we then have to keep correcting later on. So actually, although it takes a little bit more time to work at these skills initially, eventually you really start to fly because everything feels really easy. Because you haven't got those bad habits, which some of them have just been part of the sort of myths of piano playing over the last 100 years. This is obviously going to make you into a good pianist, and it doesn't actually work. So some things we've just had to change more recently with research and experience.
When you're saying sorting out all these techniques, if someone has come to you with a problem saying they've been playing with the wrong technique for years and they have actually damaged their hand in some way or had an injury in some way that stopped them from playing, what's your approach? Do you sort out the injury first through like physical exercises, or is it just going straight back to the piano and sort of playing in a certain way that doesn't hurt them anymore?
That's a really good question. And exactly, we do both of those. So there's this organisation called BAPAM, which is the British Association for Performing Arts Medicine, and it's free. You can have a free appointment if you're a musician with problems, and we do a joint clinic between myself and a hand surgeon. When I say hand surgeon, it doesn't mean to say he's going to immediately jump in and do an operation on you. It means he's a specialist in hand problems, right? So we will see people together, and he'll be diagnosing and checking you over and doing a lot. And I'll be looking at your piano playing and saying, but if you change that would stop this coming back, and it would prevent you keep exacerbating this problem. And we also work hand in hand with somebody who's a hand therapist. So we very often find that the solution is to start with some hand therapy exercises, which she will recommend. During that time, I'll be teaching some new ways to approach the piano that you can be learning while you're not, perhaps when you're having to have a bit of a rest and being a bit cautious about your playing. So you're learning some new techniques and new approach. In the meantime, Mark will have diagnosed and made sure that everything's going along the right way and we've understood everything correctly. And it's only if those two things aren't working that, they might have to go and have a steroid injection, or, in the last resort, have some sort of operation. So we're really good friends, and we work really well together, and we're often just saying, I saw so-and-so today, and this is how I worked with him, and what are you finding? And, that's with the permission, obviously, of the pianist.
So it's sort of both those two things together then. Okay.
It's a combination of the medical knowledge, the physical knowledge from the physical therapist, and my experience of actually playing at the instrument, which combines to help people get back to full playing capacity.
We're going to do something slightly different now. I am going to throw a few characters of students that you may have had. In fact, one of them is based off myself. And I'm going to ask, how would you go about strategizing how to teach this particular person? So first one, very hard-working piano student, but doesn't necessarily practice the things that you ask them to do in lesson. So they're doing a lot of playing, right, and they're progressing, but they're not necessarily doing the stuff that you're saying, you need to do this. They're sort of doing other things that they're like, oh, I want to play this and then do that. How would you go about sorting that? Does that make sense?
Is this you by any chance?
No, this one's not me. In fact, this one's not me.
Okay. Well, I know a lot of teachers who have students like this. I tend not to, because obviously if you're at a music college, then there is a certain path you are obliged to follow. You know, you have to. But on the other hand, if they've got other interests, I really encourage that. Because if that, if they suddenly want to go off and do something completely different or learn a different genre or something, I think it's all a very valuable experience, as long as, they're actually covering what they need to do within their music college degree course.
Yeah.
I think, so for instance, if you're a teacher and you've got kids who maybe only want to play, the theme tunes for their favourite film or whatever, and don't really want to play their Bach minuet, some teachers have a you choose one, I choose one sort of policy. Yeah. So the student has a choice, and they learn the piece, and then it's the teacher's choice of piece, and I think that's quite a good solution, because sometimes the pieces that the student chooses aren't necessarily of much pedagogical value. I don't know if you know what I mean by that.
Yeah.
And sometimes we see that a student really could benefit from developing a certain aspect of musicianship or technique, or they've got some stiffness in their elbow or whatever. It might be quite specific, and we want them to work on that. But that piece in another genre may not actually challenge them in the way that we want them to be challenged. So sometimes it is important for the teacher to recommend specific pieces, because they know that they're going to really learn from that.
Yeah.
So like in everything, it's a balance.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you don't want to be the sort of teacher who's only ever teaching the same old pieces to all the students all the time.
Yeah.
That is so that the student becomes really demotivated. They'll probably give up.
Yeah.
So there's got to be a quid pro quo here. That any student, if it's explained well, wants to develop their playing. So if they see the purpose, and if you find a piece that's actually really of musical value and really engaging, then they'll go with it.
Yeah.
And then they'll suddenly realize, wow, I didn't realize I loved that composer. But they'll discover new music from that way as well. It's a bit of, you have to go with the student, but also guide them in what's going to help them in the future.
Okay.
We have to, as teachers, we have to have a long-term view.
Of course. Next character.
Yeah.
So an adult beginner / intermediate student who has a very busy week. This is not music college or anything like that. Who has a very busy week, very keen player, but only managed to sit down a few times a week. If you were teaching this person, what would your approach be?
Well, I think that's a fairly normal situation for an adult amateur to be in. And I really admire adults who are busy working the rest of the week, who then devote their spare time to learning to play the piano. It's not an easy thing to do. It takes time. It's a slow process. I developed a course particularly for that person.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's called Foundations in Piano Playing.
Okay.
And it's a sort of adult version of a lot of the material that's in these beginner and intermediate books, which are sort of pretty child-friendly, really, those other books. But this was an adult version. And so, again, I'm trying all the time to balance learning about the theory, learning to read the notes and all of that stuff, which we need to do. Learning to play with a good physical approach, so learning the technique, and also having a lot of wonderful musical experiences you're doing it. So I'm always trying to balance those three elements, because we need to develop them all together.
Yeah.
And so and again, you want to have as much variety of pieces as well. So a lot of the people who are using the Foundations in Piano Technique course also use a lot of the pieces from the Essential Piano Technique books, because those pieces have been very specially written to address a particular problem.
Okay.
And they're really short. They're only page each.
It's also
so you
perfect
can
for
learn
this
really
particular
quickly.
character. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
brilliant.
so you want to give this person lots of variety, but short pieces.
Yeah.
So they don't have to spend hours and hours trying to sort of fumble their way through a long piece, and then feel that takes weeks and weeks. Whereas what I've tried to do in all these pieces for beginners and intermediates is show them ways that they can learn things really quickly, and then put it into practice in a really short but really interesting piece, so that actually they can move through all these different skills quite quickly. So it's really satisfying. Otherwise, you can get trouble with piano playing is the note learning does take a long time.
Yeah. It does.
So if you've got a 5-page piece, it can take many weeks. So I was trying to move away from that and give people lots of variety and lots of skills that they can learn, move on and really develop really quickly.
Upper primary school age, ADHD dialed to 11, very passionate and talk a lot about piano and how much they are going to do it and how much they enjoy doing it. However, they find it very difficult to regulate and sit still at the piano for more than 5 minutes. How would you sort that one out?
Well, as you know, I've just been doing this workshop for teachers downstairs. And I did talk about this a bit, because what I've done in the children's books is I recognise the fact that children don't want to sit still for half an hour or more, you know. So, for instance, with every skill they're learning, they actually learn it initially away from the piano. Often they stand up to do it.
Oh, wow.
And so they may be doing big movements. So if you're just learning to do something, this piano isn't switched on, but if you're learning to do movements, you do it away from the piano first. You're making big movements, big gestures. Or you might be learning rhythms, or you might be learning movements. So, for instance, if you want the right hand to play more loudly than the left, we do like exercises where you're playing heavily here and then you're playing right,
Really
so
lightly on top. Okay.
You know, things like that. So we do lots of little sort of games and exercises that are away from the piano.
Yeah.
Because anybody with ADHD, in particular, you know, they do find it a challenge to sit there for a long time and focus on the same thing for a long period of time. So that's why I tried to make the pieces very short and all the exercises very short. So within a lesson, you can jump from one thing to another and have a lot of variety. And as soon as they get a little bit fidgety, you can say, right, stand up, let's do this, and jump to something else.
And start and stuff that benefits the piano playing from a more kind of interactual, kind of running around sort of perspective, if that makes sense.
And a lot of teachers are doing this anyway, especially the sort of, you know, the younger child, the age 4, 5, 6, you know, they don't want to sit for a long time. So you do have to get up and do clapping exercises or movement exercises or whatever. But what I've done is extended that really into slightly older age range. You're saying a 9-year-old here, where still we're using that principle that nobody wants to be doing the same thing for half an hour. You want to be learning lots of different skills and then putting them together in a piece. So it all sort of finds a resolution. Yeah. So everything needs to be musically focused, and then they see, oh, well, I can see the point of doing that. So often, students are asked, you know, for instance, they're coming up to an exam and they've got to do a whole pile of scales, and they have to sit there and learn these scales, and they don't really see the point of them. Whereas if they are playing a Mozart sonata that's got a beautiful scale passage, and you take that as an opportunity to practice really beautiful expressive scales, then they see the purpose and they'll practice it. So I think if everything's got a musical focus and you can see an obvious reason for doing something, then that will motivate the students.
That's great. No, it's a nice little game that I like to sort of throw that at people sometimes and just be like, what would you do for this person? What would you do for that person? Cool. Thank you so much for coming to see us today.
Okay, good.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you.
Thank you so much for watching. You can find all of Penelope's links to the Roskell Academies below in the description of this video. Please subscribe to us. It really does help get our name out there. Follow our Instagram, and hopefully we'll see you in the next video.